Hey everybody, how you doing? I'm Pav, the rising VTuber and artist. And once again, we find ourselves in the abyss of dark green. I don't know why I selected this color for the background paper. It's kind of ugly. I don't know why I didn't use my regular dark gray. No saturation, just dark gray. You know what always bugged me? You can't have your coffee neat. You can have your whiskey neat. You can have whiskey and be like, "Oh yeah, no, I'm not having any ice or any other stuff in there." That's calling it neat. What do you call? But you just call coffee without anything else in it, like black coffee. That's like it feels. I don't know what makes a whiskey neater than coffee. Whiskey, it took some getting used to get to drinking coffee without milk or sugar, right? But like it's very easily done. I enjoy it. But there's nothing neat about whiskey with no additives, with no enhancements, no sauce. But yeah. Anyway, I have this up because I was actually struggling to figure out what I was going to do for the action sequence, but then I remembered I have a few different 3D backgrounds punting around in my 3D objects library in CSV. And I'm going to, one day I'll figure out those friggin' MakerCAD, Google Space, whatever the fuck things to properly create a background up from scratch. But for the moment, we're going to be using this, and I did actually figure out a cool action sequence to do for this. Okay, so it's gonna start a little bit from over here. And here's the neat part. I'm not actually gonna be getting super complicated with the panels. I'm going to be... Actually, I should probably be getting somewhat complicated with the panels. I don't know. The panels are in a limbo state. Hang on, I have a template here. I'm so glad that I made this image for myself because I always fucking forget what all these mean. Default border, inner frame line, absolutely safe zone. Broadly speaking, all your dialogue and important art should go within this line. Also, the default size for frame border folders if you add one using the layers menu, okay? Crop marks are in bleed zone. Absolutely unsafe zone. Anything in this pink zone or outside of the mark will not get printed. Anything near the inside border might get printed depending on how well the book itself is trimmed. Ideally, the book would be trimmed at the crop border, but this doesn't always happen. Okay, crop border. These are determined by the lines near the corners of the crop marks. Oh yeah, I see these. Bleed width, this is the area between the crop marks and the crop border. It represents an area where the final work may be trimmed. It is recommended you draw slightly beyond the crop border and all the way up to the crop marks to prevent any issues with trimming. Okay. And these crosses are used to indicate the middle of the page horizontally and vertically. No other purpose. Okay, nice. God, it was so nice of me to make these for myself. That's self-care. That's self-love. But yeah, I was trying to figure out how to make making comics more fun because the other time I tried making a comic on stream, it felt a little bit like a slog. I think comics are just not necessarily unsuitable fundamentally. They don't suit my workflow for streams because I feel like there's not enough room to adventure. Hi Sentai, how you doing? Because if I'm designing a character or drawing a small illustration, I can go on a tangent no problem. It's very easy to have breaks in the flow of the work, but if I'm working on a comic, it definitely... I don't know what it is about my process that makes it so difficult for me to tear away from making a comic. I don't know, I think it's because of the amount of planning that goes into it. You know, it's like I know exactly how long and how precisely I need to work. So maybe it goes faster like that. Actually, Sentai, I've been meaning to ask. You always kind of you always herald your presence with that funny looking cat. Do you remember where you got that emote from? Like I very strongly associate it with you now, but I'm curious to know where you found your wares. Sick cat, where'd you get it? Okay, we can use this and then just figure out the rest kind of by hand. Okay, so the idea is that somebody's going to be looking out from here. My friend Nico-chan's cat we sent around at bars in Nagoya? Oh, that's so cute. She doesn't stream much anymore. Oh, that's a shame. So it is nice that like you know the cat though, right? Okay, we're gonna have, let's say that much. You know what? We could probably kind of futz around a little bit, just like making, or actually, what would be a good idea is to have the spiral effect. Hang on. But yeah, I hope your friend is doing okay wherever she's at now. Okay, wait. I need to remember how to do a golden spiral. I kind of vaguely remember it. I've recently finished reading a book on architecture, and now I remember, and I vaguely remember some parts of it. So you make a golden spiral by like a 4:3 ratio, so that you always end up with a clean square down on one side. Unfortunately, I think that approach might not be suitable. I think she does modeling now? Oh, that's so cool. That's huge for her. That's great. That being said, I'm not sure how much more golden I can make this spiral. Hang on. Maybe if I flip it upside down, we might be able to. Hang on. No, that. I'm overthinking this. I just need to draw a spiral. It's the easiest thing in the world is drawing a spiral. Of course, having the transformation tool does help a lot. It's kind of. I don't know. Does this spiral look chunky to you? Like, I feel like this spiral is. I don't know. There's something more. Maybe it's because I squashed it around a little bit. Hang on. I need to like space it out a little bit more. It's a little. The spiral's a bit cramped. Let's see. But yeah, it is crazy how life sneaks up on you. I do feel like having a job you enjoy in real life is very rewarding. So I am glad it sounds like she found. Oh wow. Ay, qué guapetona. That's nuts. Yeah, that's. I don't know. Like I said, there's something. It's this very bittersweet feeling, right? Like whenever somebody that makes stuff that you like ends up doing something else with their life, but at the same time, it's like that is genuinely great for them. It's this feeling like you can't help but be happy for them. I do. I've been recently thinking about like what my mission is as a streamer. I'm still studying Japanese, so it's hard to keep up with the specifics. But it was cool to meet up with her while I was in Japan. I bet. That's so cool. Did you end up meeting anybody else while you were in Japan? I forgot which one is for line adjustment. Here it is. Okay. I'm going to make a guy. Here's the thing about chandeliers in rooms. If you want to make any action scene like 40% more interesting, just have a chandelier in the room and have the characters in that room do some do some silly shit with a chandelier. Okay, they're just gonna. I might have made their body too big. Hang on. I feel like recently I've been thinking about ways of arranging the space in the comics and the drawings that I make. And one of the only solutions that I've come up with is to create like a bubble for how big I want each thing to be, and then roughly estimate what I want to do with that. Me and Ash, Italian VTuber, met and shared hotels and stuff while going around. We met a British guy we know that's studying in Japan, and I have other friends in Japan, another VTuber, and her friends that are mecha artists. Wow, you have quite the network. That sounds really exciting. Gosh, I do think that having a trip with people that you want to meet and people that you can meet up with makes it so much more exciting than just traveling by yourself. Don't get me wrong, I do enjoy my own solo travel, but it is nice to have something to look forward to, right? To be there with a very specific goal in mind and a person you want to see. Okay, I'm going to make his leg over here. But yeah, it sounded like it was a really coordinated effort to organize all of that. Or at least I hope it was. It would have been really funny if you just accidentally happened to meet if you just accidentally just so happened to run into this Italian person that you know randomly at the airport and was like, "Yo, we should go together." Although that can happen. I don't know. I've never had much success making new connections at an airport, but I know it is possible. Phone on another friend I met while I was there. Okay, interesting. That's so exciting. I should make it one of my goals, at least in next year, to try and meet up with other VTubers. I've been meaning to try and figure out more about the art scene in my own city. I feel like having offline motivation for art is going to be like what really pushes me to the next level. I don't know. I feel like a lot of what I do in my life isn't sufficiently tied to what is material. I think having like a real world friend group that is also insane about the things that I'm insane about might be what saves me. No, we plan to go together. The other time I was in Japan, I did the same thing with friends from the West Coast and the UK. It's easier traveling with a group for hotels and transportation. It does definitely help. Hmm. Yeah, I could understand that. Many hands make light work, after all. God, I can't. I'm going to need to look up the exact gun that I gave this guy. I remember it was some kind of like fuck ass Russian space program gun that could also fire shotgun shells. They used to give astronauts any old shit. Back in the day. Like they gave, hang on, let me see if I can actually pull it up. I think it's called something like the TOZ-81 Mars, if I recall correctly. Okay, it's also called a TP-82. Hang on. Where's my web browser? Or actually, let me pull up the images on it first. Alright, so I want you to take a close look at this thing. So the Russian space program gave this to their astronauts. It could be loaded with either a rifle bullet or a shotgun bullet. And it was intended for use in survival situations when they came back down to Earth. Yeah, it's a fucking contraption for real. You're supposed to use it if you come back down from space and you're in like the middle of the wilderness and you have to fight a bear or something. It's so funny looking. And I was absolutely enamored with it. I think it was because like it only held 2 shotgun barrels and 1 rifle barrel. The upper 2 side-by-side shotgun barrels. Right, it's a combination gun. I forgot about that. I don't know why I thought it was a single... I might be thinking of the Thompson Contender, actually. Hang on. I know the Thompson Contender was featured heavily in Fate. Yeah, I'm at the Pizza Hut, I'm at the Taco Bell, I'm at the combination pizza gun and Taco Bell. Yeah, this thing. This thing's also an absolute fucking contraption. Look at this. It can be chambered in cartridges from .17 Bumblebee, which is a really cute name for something that kills people, to 45 to 70 Government, which is a much more reasonable name for something that kills people. Yeah, I think I was picturing some kind of weird Frankensteinian combination between the Thompson Contender and the TOZ-81 Mars. But yeah, I do like how weird this thing looks. I don't know. There's something very romantic about really funny-looking, goofy-looking guns. I'm at the Rifle Hut. I'm at the Shotgun Bell. God. Okay. I like this panel a lot. I need to think of what's gonna go in the rest. I need to remember the basics of CQC. Okay. What might help actually is taking a quick look at the background to see what's going on in the balustrades and whatnot. That's such a fun word to say, though, balustrade. Also, hi, Amanda Man. Okay. So the idea here, I guess, would be to establish what this guy is going to jump towards. So that's gonna be maybe like almost like a cross. Or maybe because he's already in motion in the second panel, it's important to show the wind up to that motion. And then we can establish a target in this third panel. Yes, okay. Also, Sentai is sending me some insane art that their friends have made, and it looks really good. Hang on. Gotta pop these up on the Jumbotron if you don't mind. Oh yeah, these are really good. I have a large amount of respect for anybody who draws primarily inorganic materials. Like obviously the thing about mech art is that it does follow. They're really good artists. It was neat to meet them. I bet that's great. Yeah, it's so cool. It's like it is very much the intersection between how much you understand inorganic materials and metal and mechanisms, and also how much you understand the human form and foreshortening and like the idea of dynamics. Need to work on my Nihongo so I can talk to them better. That it's a strong motivator. They do say that having someone that you really like like there's a language barrier between you and somebody you really like helps you learn a language a lot quicker. So I do hope it goes by. I hope your efforts are rewarded for real. You know, some people. I do think that an international movement we should be trying to make more often is to try and refer to languages in their own language, if that makes sense. But it's got to be a little bit of a trade-off, right? So like English would be English, right? But like Chinese would be Zhongwen. It helps to have people to talk to. Phonon is very patient with me when I ask about stuff in Japanese grammar. Oh, that makes sense too, actually. Right. That would also make it a lot easier. I'm actually debating whether I should. I feel like I could get away with maybe making this panel. Hang on. Maybe I can get away with a lot. She's not great with English, so we kind of split the difference. Hey, that's good. I actually agree. It is kind of weird to not refer to languages in their language. Yeah, it's not weird necessarily, but I feel like I don't know. It's something that I would like to do just because it sounds languages in their own language sound so much cooler than in English. Partially a result of overwhelming English colonialism. Yeah, that would make a lot of sense. Okay, here is what we might do. What I might do is I might just reverse the spiral. I feel like I'm losing to a dog at chess whenever I'm trying to think about like panel layout. This shit hard as hell. It's been a while since I actually. The thing is that it's been a long time since I've done anything more complex than like a simple doodle comic. So I feel like that might also be what's whooping my ass here a little bit. Okay, so panel 1, we established what the guy is looking at. On the other hand, it was a fun idea to establish what he was going for in the second panel. On the other hand, who's to say that I need to have... Actually, yeah, hang on. To be fair, that dog's been training its whole life. God. It does feel like that sometimes. Like, sometimes you are losing in chess to a dog, but you feel like the dog has had more prep time than you. Like you feel like the dog has been able to focus entirely on chess while you've been having to like juggle ordinary human responsibilities. So you're feeling a little bit like outclassed. Okay. Okay, wait, no, I feel like I'm getting it now. I'm doing it, I'm thinking. I'm going to make this third panel very, very narrow. I'm going to give this last panel some more breathing room. And that way... It's hard to untangle stuff like the term Japan comes from the Chinese pronunciation Zeppen and the Malay Japang to refer to the country of Nihon. That is how we got Japan, which was used for Western trade with the country since the 13th century. So it's hard to just start using the right word for it. You know what? That is also fair. Like some of that shit was just a lot of it is you have to think about like, okay, how much of this was like a was in fact colonialism's fault, which is a significant portion of it. Putting my hands up in the air, it is a significant portion of it. And how much of it has just been like the fact that people have been using it and nobody's really bothered to fully correct it. So it's just kind of stuck. I mean, I don't know. They do say if it's not broken, don't fix it. So, you know, there's pros and cons to each one. Okay. I've got the idea for the first panel. That's more capitalist imperialism in particular. Japan was never colonized unless you count the American occupation after World War II. That is also true. I did forget about that part. Yeah, Japan was more busy doing the colonizing than being colonized themselves, and come to think of it. Okay, where is my ever so handy spiral? Okay, there it is. Okay. Trying to think. I'm going to need like a diagram, a figure of like a person actually standing out. But like, imagine with me. Hold my hand as I paint this word picture for you. Person, you can see the shoes about to step off of the balustrade. It is really handy that the balustrade in this particular model has flat tops, so they can aura farm like this. And what might be a good idea is also to make the legs, rather than like falling like that, like they actually jump towards it. They simply built artificial islands in Tokyo Bay, the natural habitat of Dutch people. Then once a regular migrating population of Dutch settled into it, they could regularly farm it for imports. That doesn't sound right, but I don't know enough about the migration patterns of Dutch people to dispute it. The Dutch are kind of built different in a lot of regards. My best friend in middle school was Dutch, and his family, and he himself operated in like strange ways that are somewhat unfathomable to me now in retrospect. Good hang though. He was a decent guy. I still see him sometimes playing Helldivers on Steam. I haven't really reached out to him. Okay, what I need to do is I need to make this leg smaller and the other leg bigger. And maybe lean this a little bit like this. Fabulous. Okay. Okay, and then... I kind of want to... The thing about this guy, right? The thing about the character that I'm trying to use this sequence for in particular is that he is kind of... He is kind of slutty with it a little bit. So I'm trying to figure out like how I can make the chandelier swing look a little bit like he's doing a stripper dance. Hang on, pole dance moves. Looking this up without bringing up the without bringing up the web source, because if I do, I will be in big trouble. Damn it! All of these are in really low resolution, so I can't actually look at them in detail. Okay. They're calling these beginner moves. Some of these look pretty advanced to me. I don't know. Hang on. I wish more artists were willing to try drawing mecha stuff, though, or experimenting in general. I feel like a lot of Western Twitter artists have no mecha, no furry, etc. on their commission pages, but I've literally had Japanese artists that I put scabs in just because they had a neat art style thank me for commissioning, because they don't often have the chance to draw mecha stuff. I do wonder what kind of sociological factors go into that, because maybe, I don't know, like, I do feel like a lot of... There's just not so much machinery-based media, right? Like, mech is a huge field with, like, enormous amounts of depth in Japan. Meanwhile, over here, it's all just, like, Garfield and, you know, not to be, like, Think Japan about it, right? But, like, I do wonder to what extent it is that, like, you know, we have more, like, superhero comics here, which emphasize more, like, the human body without any kind of machinery or anything. This includes Iron Man, actually. I was about to say, you know, not including Iron Man, but you know what? That guy's also responsible for this partially. That is really sweet that they thank you for the opportunity to draw mecha stuff, though. I do feel like if I was commissioning somebody and they said that, like, thank you so much for doing this, I never get to draw this, and I'm going to have a great time drawing this, I would feel fabulous. I would feel on cloud 9. Like, I'm asking you to do this thing for me, and you're saying that you're going to have fun with it? That's crazy. I love you. Maybe on Tumblr or DeviantArt, people used to get a lot of commissions or stuff like that. I'm sure there's a reason a lot of artists put that in their rules, but I don't know. I think a lot of them do it because they're not used to doing it, and they see it as a pain in the ass to learn. I don't know. The stuff they gave me back was neat too. That's good. Okay, I think I found the one. I think I found the pose. But I'm going to skip a panel, and I'm going to start drawing it in this panel here. Okay, so it's gonna go one knee over, one knee back. Or wait, no, it's more like this. Hang on, I'm going. The thing is that they. It's a little bit of a struggle for me to kind of figure out how this pose works because it's mirrored the wrong way. Wait, actually, hang on, I've got an idea. I've got a really funny idea that it might save me a lot of headache. Instead of mirroring the pose and in the reference that I'm using, I'm going to just mirror the panel and then unmirror it once I've got the pose down. Today, I am a genius. Okay, and then this one's gonna go over here, and then... Here we go, the pose is done. Okay, he's kind of humongous compared to the chandelier. I need to scale him down a little bit. Gosh. It is always super interesting to hear people's commissioning experiences over in general because I DIY literally basically every visual aspect of my stream and whenever I'm like, wow, I wish somebody should draw this, I literally go like, wait, I can draw it though. Genuinely too addicted to the DIY grind, so it's always cool hearing about the people's experience with it. But yeah, it does sound like it can be a little bit difficult finding the right artist. Okay. The plan is successful. We have successfully drawn the... They call this the arrow pose, which makes sense. Okay, and I'm going to put the other guy right over here. Just like that. Something like that. I do know that the reason that a lot of people don't do furry stuff is just because, like, first of all, like, drawing animal muzzles is really hard, and also, like, some people are weird about furries, so it's a little bit it's a little bit of a 50-50 between those two things. I remember I drew an animal muzzle like twice during art fight, and both times I was like I was having like a mini a mini like Sherlock brain palace moment over it. Good times though. I do enjoy drawing furry art from time to time. It's a nice change of pace. Aw, these are really cute though. Yeah, no, like even though they weren't specialized in furry in like mecha stuff, they still you can still see that it came out really well. Hang on, let me actually put one of these on the Jumbotron. Hang on. Like this one. This one's so cute. Shout out to Tune I. Tune _I. But yeah, I see what you mean though. Yeah, these two are supposed to be of similar height, so I guess I should probably shrink this guy down a tiny bit. He shouldn't be that big in the overall scheme of things. Their stuff is great. Agreed. Okay, I might actually just grab both of these. Not both of these, just this layer in particular. And then I think changing up the pose a little bit will help a lot. Because in this next panel, I want the person who's just like leaning over the balcony to grab their arm and start trying to get the person on the chandelier into an arm bar. Okay. And then the gun is going to point this away. There we go. God, if I was swinging on somebody on a chandelier and they just snatched me off of that sucker or grappled me while I'm on the chandelier, I would be pissed. Can you imagine? You thought you were gonna do some cool hype moments and aura type shit, and then the person who you're trying to kill suddenly pulls out an ultra instinct on you. I don't know. I do think that just having the target be weirdly aware of the fact that they're going to die is always makes for such an interesting twist. It introduces a nice additional element to the dynamic of the situation. Okay, there we go. Also person B's legs over here might be a little bit too big. Oh wait, hang on. Sentai sent me some more. Let's go. Oh my gosh, these are so cute. They really do have an adorable art style. Like, look at these. I think something about the specific brush they use it really lends itself to the style. You know, it feels a lot like crayon drawings, but it feels like crayon drawings done by somebody who knows what they're doing. And I might just add a cheeky little panel here. I might have to look up more stripper pose references while for this last panel, though. Also, I might just make the chandelier's top rope start kind of curving the wrong way here to show that it's on the return of its apex. Okay, and then we're going to have the gun very clearly visible here. Yes, it's all coming together. This is probably why people do those name things, right? I do think that if you ever are interested in doing comics, you should probably do yourself a favor and try to read through Bakuman, because it discusses a lot of interesting ideas about how to approach making comics. One of those artists specifically was funny. I was saying about how it's cool to see a character in different styles, and they started telling me about how much they like Spider-Verse for that reason. Sick! Real recognizes real. Tale as old as time. Okay, and this dude's just chilling back here. There we go. But yeah, I think the reason Spider-Verse does it so well is because a lot of there's so much thought and effort into the animations for each of the different Spideys. Like, it's not just, oh, they have like the same art style, but they have the different art styles, but they also have the same animations for each one. No. Each of them have like very field of specialty specific quirks to their movement. It's funny how much and which Western stuff is popular in Japan. Like my friend Phonon from before said that her VTuber design is based on her favorite character Soundwave from Transformers. Aww! That is really endearing. Peace and love worldwide. That reminds me that how I learned recently from V's podcast that apparently My Little Pony is super popular in China. And that was weird, really endearing. I don't know. It's nice that, like, you know, after decades of like being a weeaboo, right? It's nice to see that the people from those countries that produce the things that we love also get something back from the Western world. Peace and love on planet Earth. And it's been that way for forever, basically, though. Because, like, if you think about it, the earliest example of this was very much Osamu Tezuka being like, damn, that Bambi shit is dope as fuck. I wanted to learn to draw like that. And then, you know, he went on to invent an entire medium. Didn't they get, like, exclusive trading cards for My Little Pony in China? I haven't read anything about trading cards, but it would not surprise me if they did have something exclusive for that. What I'm also remembering right now, just like right now, is also that one Tom and Jerry game that has all that insane art for no good reason. Where like they have one with Jerry as like Sun Wukong or some shit. Oh my god, I forgot about it. Trust me, I remembered. Hang on. Tom and Jerry Chinese game. Tom and Jerry Chase, right. God. Art style. Designs. The art style is faithfully derived from the original classic. S-class skins, except for Hero of the West, were all created originally for this game, but it can reference popular characters such as Bruce Lee or even fictional characters like Monkey King. How can I download the game? Hang on. The Tom and Jerry wiki tells us how we can download the game. You can download the game generally in Google Play or from APKs with your phone or laptop, but it doesn't have keyboard support if it's on laptop. You can control the game with the mouse, but that would not be recommended for players since this game requires aiming. In 2020, the international server beta released, albeit for only 2 languages. You can download this version on Google Play Store and App Store. It is possible to play the original version outside of the People's Republic of China, but not without trial and error for iOS devices. iOS devices require Chinese Apple ID to be downloaded unless you have the ripped version. Then you could simply download an IPA file. Android devices, on the other hand, are as simple as can be. Follow the website below and press the green button, and it downloads the APK file. That is nuts! Oh my god. Here we go. Gallery. Tom and Jerry Chase. Like you get the first couple of ones, and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, it's just like Tom and Jerry. You know, there's Tom, there's Jerry, there's like, it's all very much in like the show's conventional art style. And then later on, you like get ones like this. And hang on, it's loading though. Can I just like open this in a new tab? Here we go. Like, why do they have hair all of a sudden? Where did that come from? Who the fuck is this? You know what I mean? It's baffling in a very... It's baffling, and I feel like I'm almost missing out. Like, there's stuff that's just baffling, and then there's like why is Jerry getting married to whoever this is? Oh, God. Oh yeah, I need to look up a reference for a flying armbar. What's a good one? Oh, this one's pretty good. Actually, hang on. A video might be helpful, though. Where is... Can I open up a YouTube tab? Can I open up a YouTube tab and not get crucified by YouTube for just looking up random stuff? Hang on. Flying armbar. 8-second flying armbar in Jiu-Jitsu tournament? Don't mind if I do! Okay. Okay. Oh! Shit, okay. That was like... That was so sudden, too. Okay, I think I've got the gist of it. Yeah, okay. We can't use this arm for snatching the pistol arm. But... That's almost better because it lets us, like, dangle the other person precariously. Okay... And then we have the end conclusion, which is this. Okay. Okay, and the leg wraps around the head like that. Okay. Nice. Okay, I might need to think about the layout of this first, because I do want it to be almost like a sunburst pattern. Where this person's head, the person who's doing the armbar will have their head down here. Oh god, Jiu-Jitsu looks like such a complicated mess. I am glad that I've mainly only been interested in stand-up fighting. Because, like, you can do a kick like a million different ways, but at the end of the day, the basic principle of it is still always going to be hit the guy with your leg. Jiu-Jitsu does some insane amounts of other crap, though. Like, grappling is so fucking complicated and for no good reason. Okay. This pose might be a little bit ambitious, actually. Hang on, I gotta look up a couple more references. Okay. When I did wrestling in high school, I knew a guy that was really into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and he could grapple people with just his legs. It's crazy out here. That's so scary. Some dude will be like you will walk up to someone, you'll like tap gloves, they'll move their legs in a blinding flash of speed, and you will be hurting in 5 different joints, and they'll be like, oh yeah, this is like the 44th Gracie variation of the Gogo Plata, and I'd be like, brother, what the fuck are you talking about? You just did some Dragon Ball shit to me. God. Okay, so we're gonna have the legs of this guy over here. Don't know if I... That's one hell of a chicken drumstick I've given him. For a leg. Okay. Then this one's gonna kind of go over here. I feel like MMA getting popular blew a lot of martial arts out of the water in favor of grappling and kickboxing. That is a complaint that I've heard a lot about, like MMA, that because grappling is so effective and is so technically deep and rewarding for the fighters, a lot of matches tend to kind of just like devolve into grappling fests, and it can get a little bit boring to watch because it's not as interesting as like kickboxing and stand-up fighting. But I do think that a lot of people did gravitate towards that. That is more or less what I've observed. Although I do appreciate that Muay Thai is getting a lot of love. I do see a lot of people like co-opt Muay Thai stuff for MMA, which is nice to see because I just think it's cool when I just think Muay Thai in general is really cool. I don't have a specific reason I like it. I think it's maybe just because it looks interesting visually. No, the wrist should be turned outward here. Gosh, I really want to try and join a martial arts school again at some point. I put out of my Shotokan Karate group back during COVID, and I haven't picked up any new ones since. And I'm still a little bit gun shy because I haven't gotten COVID yet, which I'm very proud of, and I would very much like to keep that way. And it feels like being in a sweaty room in close contact with a lot of people is a good way to break that winning streak. You can also teach yourself martial arts at home, but let's be real, that's not the same thing. Muay Thai is funny in my opinion because whereas a lot of martial arts were developed for self-defense or as a last resort for soldiers, Muay Thai is a rare martial art developed specifically for killing people. Yeah, like that Muay Thai and like Pencak Silat were like both developed by countries who had been under heavy colonization, and the people kind of locked in and were like, all right, we need to learn how to fight barehanded or else we're gonna lose this. And they locked the fuck in and made Muay Thai and Pencak Silat, which are both really, really scary. To say nothing of Leadway, which is the brilliant combination of somebody saying, hey, you know Muay Thai? You know that extremely terrifying and vicious martial art? Why don't we add headbutts to that? I feel like that's a great idea. It's so fucking funny. Like, Leadway is like, okay, we've used the feet, we've used the knees, we've used the elbows. Are there any extremities we're forgetting about? Of course, our heads! It's so fucking funny. Have you ever read the manga Holy Land? Teaching yourself martial arts at home is pretty peak TBH. I've never heard of that one, actually. Hang on. Let me look that up. Holy Land. Written, illustrated by Koji Mori, who does not have a Wikipedia article. Yu Kamishiro is a bullied high schooler who finds solace in the brutal world of street fighting. I'm sorry, that description just really got a kick out of me. It's like, shucks. Travis is bullying me at school today, making fun of my pocket calculator. Oh boy, I guess I better go blow off some steam and engage in some bone-breaking, unsanctioned duels. Like, what are you saying? Oh wow, there is a lot of volumes for this. Getting bullied, just lock in. God, alright. 18 volumes. It's... Okay, no, it finished in 2008. It ran for 8 years. Okay. Yeah. I do know there is also a Korean webtoon called, I think the English edition of it was called Viral Hood. I remember that the translated chapters were under, like, how to fight. And it also was about some dumb weenie kid who one day realized that he needed to lock the fuck in and learn how to fight. And I think a lot of it has to do with getting monetized on YouTube, which is really funny. Capitalism is our most vicious opponent yet. Never let anybody say otherwise. Oops. Hang on. Let me get this back in order. Hang on. And we gotta do something with the hanging guy's arms. That's still such a and why is it called Holy Land then? That's the part that's also really funny to me. Like with Holy Land, I was expecting this to be like some kind of like, you know, retelling of the 14th Crusade or some shit. Like, what do you mean it's about some dude who's like whose favorite pastime is doing like Street Fighter bullshit as a middle school? No, sorry, as a high schooler. Which, you know, isn't that weird for high schoolers to be doing, given the universe that Street Fighter is set in, but still really funny. God, it is really funny learning about these events, but the thing is, like, sometimes you really do just lock the fuck in as a teenager. Like that's what happened to Jeanne d'Arc. Like, I was reading about her history a little bit earlier today, and it's like she literally at the whole campaign to take back Orleans was like 5 out of 7 military leaders in the room being like, "Okay, John, we took over that last town. We should probably consolidate our holdings and chill out for a little bit while we regain our strength." And she's like, "No. Next victim." And it just went on like that for like 5 different towns until they finally took back all of Orleans. What a fucking maniac. Kids just gotta get out of there in the streets and kill each other to build character. Don't know about that. See, the thing is that, like, you say that, but this also happens in, like, Tokyo Revengers, and from everything I know about from that manga, it did not end well for anybody. Least of all the author. I don't know shit about Tokyo Revengers. I was really put off by its art style. And also it just seems like it gets really bleak a lot of the times, which is a little bit much for me sometimes, but it's like, I don't know. Everybody who talks about Tokyo Revengers feels like they're talking about like a cool uncle that they had as a kid who one day like started like gambling his life away. Weirdly enough, I know fuck all about Blue Lock. I just know that it's very popular. Enough that people were mad about the limited animation of its second season. I don't know. The only manga that I was like maybe in touch with a little bit was Jujutsu Kaisen, because I read a few chapters of it before it got an anime release, because I saw it trending on a perfectly legal and ordinary site. But that's over now. They've started the sequel series even. They started Jujutsu Kaisen Boruto. So now what the fuck do I do? I guess I should probably properly read it, huh? I do know my library has a few volumes of the comic. I might have to check it out that way. I don't know. Going to the library to borrow manga feels not wrong. That's what it's there for, but it does feel strange. I don't know. I might have to go there during like school day hours, so the children who are also in that section of the of the library don't make fun of me for getting Jujutsu Kaisen. They're gonna make fun of me and shove a volume of Fire Punch into my hands or some shit. They're gonna tell me to hop onto Berserk. Okay, there we go. But yeah, there is some truth to what you're saying, though. I feel like getting out in the streets and hurting each other was kind of how Kazuma Kiryu came to be, and Kazuma Kiryu is a great guy. God, this is such a stupid and complicated pose. Why did I have this as like the climax point of the fight? Kiryu is kind of a miracle case given everything in his life. You know what? That is true. I hadn't considered that part of the equation. I think my guy Kiryu is more of an exceptional case of nature against nurture in a lot of regards. I think he was just born like that, and he just kind of grew around the core of himself that he would one day fulfill. Like he had that same like grumpy expression that he does as an adult, as like directly out of the womb. I read through Tokyo Revengers and Mashal, but most of the time I read a lot of older manga and isekai slop. That's understandable. I did enjoy Mashal for while I was still keeping up with it. Although at some points it just started getting a little bit too silly, and it just started kind of grating on me rather than making me laugh. More people gotta read Kinnikuman. That's a big ask. I don't know. I did end up reading through Kinnikuman like a fair amount. I read up to I read up to like when the battle for the throne arc begins, and like that took a lot of different shit to like get through. Like there was a lot of shit where I'm like, oh man, I gotta put this down. That is a lot. Like literally 5 seconds into like any Wikipedia search for Kinnikuman, you're gonna see some shit that'll make you go, I don't know if that's culturally sensitive. Like did give me a lot of insight into a lot of different other tropes in anime and manga, but it was also really hard to get through at times. All right, we gotta shrink this down even further. I will admit that that one scene with Ashura Man and Sunny, I think his name was, really got to me though. That was so well done. During the tag team tournament arc. I don't remember if his name was Sunny or Sunflower or something like that. I remember it had to do with the sun though. Sunshine. His name was Sunshine. I will also say Kinnikuman is really good for developing your capability to take take ridiculous things seriously as a threat. Because like there were some like one of the most like what was it called? Like perilous battles in the series that I got to was against a dude who was literally a giant walking, talking blender. He didn't have blender-themed powers. He wasn't a cyborg of any kind. He was a living blender. But like at the same time, because of this, you understand why it was so influential and why it was like popular with little kids. Infinitely culturally relevant, though. It was the favorite of Akira Toriyama and Eiichiro Oda. Yeah, I can see that, honestly. I could see that being the case. Because like a lot of the deranged silliness, but also like dead seriousness about that silliness, you can see that all the time in Kinnikuman, and you can see that a whole lot of the time in the way that Oda built up characters. Although for Oda, it is also more focusing on why they're like that. And, you know, I read once an interview, right, about Eiichiro Oda's method for introducing characters and why One Piece has so many strange-looking characters and like diverse-shaped characters, particularly for the male characters. And Oda's like, oh yeah, usually I just come up with a fucked up looking guy, a really cool looking guy that I want to draw for a while, and I'll find a reason to put him in the story or something like that. And like it works out because he just loves making these weird fucked up guys. A fucked up looking guy. That's actually so funny. Hi Hachiko. You look at Gecko Moira and tell me that that's not a fucked up looking guy. You look at Gecko Moira and you look me in the face and you tell me that this dude isn't completely chopped. Look at him. He's like a fucking maraca, for fuck's sake. You could grab him by the neck and you could like play Roomba Pete on that shit. Oh god. Oda really out here like, imagine the most fucked up guy you've ever seen. Now further imagine that he has the most heart-wrenching tale known to mankind in his past. This is literally just One Piece. I remember that I saw somebody talking about their... Hang on, I gotta name this file and save it before I forget. But they were talking about their... You know what? Fuck it, I'm saving this as comic.clip. I can rename it later. I remember watching somebody go through their watch through of One Piece, and every single time, and like she saw like a child being like, "Oh, so you're saying this medicine can cure anything in the world?" And like the person who was watching also knew that we knew the child's father. And like she put together very quickly that we were going to watch this child watch their father die and try to use that medicine, and literally their whole reaction was like, just because you see the knife coming doesn't make it hurt any less. That's literally all like One Piece is about. You see, like a lot of times it is just silly goofy gags, but a lot of the other times you like see the knife being carefully and gently prepared to stab you. Another manga worth keeping up with is Satchbell 2. Makoto Raiku started self-publishing it now since he beat Shogakukan in a civil trial over mismanaging his art. Shit, really? That's crazy. I really liked Satchbell as a kid. Glad he got the rights over his art, though. That's great. They lost 5 of his colored works from the original publication of Satchbell? Fuck! You know what? I'd be mad enough to take them to court, too. What the hell? 5 of his colored works? God damn. Wait, how did I have him post up? Okay, yeah. This chandelier is hanging on for dear life. Okay, we have this all sorted out. I guess now would be the right time to try to actually make the rough line art that I said that I was going to make. God, it really is funny how a lot of the time you see manga get into legal trouble and you're like, oh god, what did they do? And half of the time it's just like, oh no, they were just fighting for the rights to their art. I remember the fucking the one who did the Apothecary Diaries, they got in trouble over tax evasion because I think like they mismanaged their taxes. And they were back almost immediately. And I was like, yes, my goat is beating the allegations. Really funny to see old series just restart recently. Kinnikuman and Satchbell are in publication right now. It'd be nice to see more mangaka revisit stuff. I do think that is true. I don't know. I don't have any manga... Wait, no, I do have one. I was like, I don't have any manga that I would like their authors to revisit. Does anybody remember fucking Katekyo Hitman Reborn? Anybody remember that old comic? I used to fucking love Hitman Reborn. What's the artist for that doing now? Hang on. Please tell me that they have a Wikipedia page. Please tell me they have a Wikipedia page for the artist. Okay, written by Akira Amano. Mangaka known for the shonen series Reborns. Okay. Okay, they worked on Psychopaths for design. I watched the whole anime for Hitman Reborn in college. Nice. Suicide Squad Isekai original character design? Holy shit. Ron Kamono Hashi, Deranged Detective, 2020 to 2025. Oh, okay. They're still producing stuff. That's nice. It sounds like they work a lot more in character design, though, than manga. Let's see. The series focuses on the adventure of Ron Kamono Hashi, an eccentric private detective, and Totomaru Ishiki, an unskilled police officer, as they solve crimes together. 5 years ago, Ron was a top student at a detective training academy, Blue. However, after being found responsible by temporary insanity for a deadly incident known as the Bloody Field Trip, his detective license was revoked and he was expelled. Unable to fulfill his... I hate when that happens. Gosh, it's really such a bummer when somebody turns my fun little class trip to the aquarium into the bloody field trip. When Totomaru seeks his help on a case, the two of them form a partnership where Totomaru takes the credit for the cases that Ron solves. That's nuts. Whenever he hears a murderer confess their crimes, Ron enters an uncontrollable state where he pressures and convinces them to kill themselves. What the fuck is wrong with this guy? God. Alright. Oh, it does also have 26 episode anime series. That's fun. What if you're like professionally solving a case, right? And like your partner just starts doing like the low tier god fucking you should kill yourself now type shit to the criminal that you're trying to pressure into a confession. Oh my god, could you imagine? Something really wrong with that guy. That's really funny. A more obscure manga I like that picked back up is Pumpkin Scissors. Volume 23 came out in 2020 and 24 came out this March. Pumpkin Scissors, huh? Let me look at that one. Manga series. Region strongly resembling Western Europe, where technology is at best mid-1930s. Catastrophic war has just ended, similar to that of World War I, that occurred in the earlier parts of the 20th century. Okay. The empire is plagued by starvation, pests, and pestilence, with former soldiers turning to thievery, banditry, and other forms of crime, forming into gangs to survive the post-war period. I wish Haruhiko Mikimoto would get back to Mobile Suit Gundam École du Ciel. Huh. What did you like about that series? I'm not familiar with Gundam. I know people were really sweet on G-Witch and then fucking hated G-Quux. But that's about the extent of it. I also know that Char Aznavour is a very complicated and compelling man, but again, I don't know him. Some of the funniest posts that I've ever seen in my life came from people trying to do like a Char Aznavour impression. Mikimoto wrote War in a Pocket, Hathaway, and worked on Macross. I've also heard really good stuff about Macross and War in the Pocket, so that is a lot of credibility. Yeah, it sounds like people really like their stuff. I gotta like lock in and watch the 1979 Gundam movie, sort of the series, at some point. I don't know. This year I've been really getting into books. Like back in May, I started borrowing books from the library pretty often. So much so that I've had like a book or two checked out from the library at any given point, at any given month this year. And it feels really good to do that. But I feel like I need to turn my sights towards movies. I feel like I've been neglecting my movie education for too long. War in the Pocket is my favorite Christmas anime. That's a little terrifying. I don't know what that means. Alright. How was I gonna do this? Right, I remember now. Okay. I really don't like using these huge models because it's very unwieldy, but it is helpful for just having a reference of what you need. Just gotta zoom in a little bit more. And there we go. That should be sufficient. Actually, there's no reason we couldn't use this balustrade here. Hang on. How do I... Can I, like, get rid of this staircase? You should read the JoJo novels like Purple Face Feedback and Jorge Joestar. There's like 36 cars on Mars. Cars on Mars is a fun little rhyme. I do know a lot of people talk a good game about Purple Haze Feedback. They do enjoy that a lot. I also know a lot of people talk a good game about Jorge Joestar, but I do know that Jorge Joestar is like intoxicatingly insane as a novel. Some I might have to exercise benefit of the doubt on that one. Like, every time that somebody introduces Jorge Joestar, they can't just introduce it like a normal book. They're like, oh, this is the one. This is the craziest book I've ever read in my life. You think you've seen crazy books? No. I'm like, I just want to read the funny novel. I don't know. Personally, I do think we could use more deranged novels in the kind of current ecosystem of writing. Like, I feel like all of the deranged novels that we have available these days are deranged not because, like, they're... Hang on. I'm actually going to spin this place around a little bit. Wait, no. Hang on. That's not going to work. Hang on. Can I get rid of the staircase real quick? Hang on. Spiral stairs. There we go. But yeah, I feel like all the novels that are deranged these days aren't deranged because they are... The content of the novels is deranged, but like because of the writing and what it kind of implies about like what the author thinks is normal. Like that Orc City one. Y'all remember Orc City from like 5 weeks ago? I hear Tomihiko Morimi's novels are good, but I'm more familiar with the animated adaptations. Huh. Huh. You know, come to think of it, I could just like draw this part of the balustrade and not the part shooting out of it. That would also work. I'm always a little giddy whenever I learn that an anime that I like was originally adapted from a novel rather than a manga. He made stuff like Tatami Galaxy and Penguin Highway. Oh, everybody talks about those movies. I know that they're really popular. Yeah, I remember seeing Tatami Galaxy. You know a specific anime movie has made it the big time whenever you see it available for viewing on one of those like long flight airplane TVs on the back of seats. I saw Tatami Galaxy for up for viewing on a couple of those, and I was like, "Wow, this thing must be banging." I remember that I think that there was a very similar studio or art style for this one called like Night is Long or the Night is Short Walk On Girl or something like that. That I was also interested in seeing in one of those little airplane TVs. I remember seeing the Penguin Highway and the character designs for it. I don't actually know what the Penguin Highway is about, or Tatami Galaxy, I suppose, for that matter. Okay, I'm going to create a model. Hang on, how about... This one should do. And I'm going to make them do the little skipping jump. Actually, is there like a skipping jump? No. Jump maybe? Nope. Run? Hmm. Yeah, that'll do. So maybe... This one seems nice and brisk. Let's use this one. That's also by Morimi? Nice. Okay, I gotta switch this up. No, actually this pose won't work because I need... Hang on. Run. Or maybe walk? Walk might be better. He also did Eccentric Family. I don't know that one actually. Okay, we can use this one. Just tilt the leg up just a little bit more, and this one a little bit down. Let me make this guy bring his arm up a little bit just so we don't see it in frame by accident. Maybe we can actually put this leg out a little bit further too. Yeah, while we put the leg up, let's get rid of the background and we can focus on just the foot. And maybe make him a little bit smaller too. Gotta flip him around too, actually, come to think of it. Maybe we can make him just a smidgen bigger. There we go. But yeah, this is exactly what I'm talking about, though. I feel like even in terms of movies that I do want to see and I do have been meaning to watch, I still don't do it. I went into reading books without having one that I specifically wanted to read. Maybe that's my issue. I'm looking forward to it too much. I need to make movie watching a more casual affair for myself. Eccentric Family is what they almost called Family Guy. Let's see, down here. There we go. I don't know. Sentai, what do you have like a favorite one by Morimi? Like, do you have you watched any of the films? And if so, which one is your favorite one? Like if I was just starting to watch some of the movies, which one do you think I should go for first? Okay, so I'm gonna make this a little bit more fucked up looking as a shoe. I'm gonna give this guy like those steel-toed Majima loafers that we don't actually see him, that we see him wearing Yakuza 0 and beyond. Penguin Galaxy, probably? Nice. Is that wait? Is that a combination of Tatami Galaxy and Penguin Road, or did he just happen to write three different novels with very similar names that somehow ended up being completely thematically unrelated. Because if it's that last one, then that would be really funny. Penguin Galaxy. Honestly, that sounds like a great place to be at. I don't know. I don't know how aggressive penguins can be towards humans, but I don't imagine they can be like particularly threatening, all things considered. I mean, it's a penguin, right? Like I don't feel like penguins can be. You know, they can definitely like attack you, but I don't feel like penguins are particularly bloodthirsty or particularly capable at murder. Although they might be. I don't know. Maybe that's what they want me to think. I'm on Penguin Highway. I just mixed myself up. Ah, no worries. That would be the funniest fucking move to pull, though, right? This is my best-selling work, Penguin Highway. This is my other best-selling work, Tatami Galaxy. This is my upcoming novel, Penguin Galaxy. They are all unrelated pieces of media. Have fun, bozos. Like, could you imagine the absolute power move that would be? I watch at least one movie a week with my friends on Discord. I've been trying to get through the American version of the Godzilla movies on my own time, but I keep crashing out on the original 1954. What do you mean crashing out? Like, are you just... Are you unable to watch it for some reason? Or are you just, like, unable to get through it? What's wrong? Or is it, like, a really bad translation or something? That reminds me, I also need to watch like the Shin Godzilla and Shin Ultraman movies. I've got a lot of work ahead of me. If I want to start being the movie watcher, if I want to stop being the potential man of movies. Always if and when, but never is. I don't know. I feel like I've reached the point in my life where I'm like emotionally mature enough that I can consistently watch movies. I don't know. Like, I do think there is like a staunch difference between people who are like super into movies and people who are super into like episodic format media. I don't know how to put it. They have like different chi. But the original Godzilla movies, huh? Have you gotten one that you really like? Steve Martin is an interesting addition, but the shoehorn him in, they humanized Sarasawa, and I just can't take it. Bro did not have friends in college, he didn't go on field assignments, he was not respected in his field, he spends all day in his basements disintegrating fish with micro-oxygen. God. That's really funny. Wait a minute. They added likability into my morally gray super weapon scientist. Waiter! Waiter! I don't know. There's an interesting dichotomy, right, between characters whose like whole backstory is like, oh, they didn't have friends, and characters whose backstory is like they were too locked in on anything else to have friends. Like they have two characters where it's like, you know, growing up, I never really had anyone I could call a friend, and like one of them is like really sad and bummed out about it because like everybody else is like on the playground that they wanted to be on the playground, and they're always like, yeah, that happened to me too, and like they're just like picturing themselves at the same playground flashback off to the side, and they're just like making thermite or some shit. Serizawa never leaves his house. The only person he takes to is his fiance, who's only going to his place to try to break up the arranged marriage politely. God. That would be kind of a nightmare situation for the fiance, huh? Like come to think of it, it would be kind of a terrible situation for the fiance. Like, imagine you are, in your 20s. You're not exactly the most outgoing type, but your parents did want you to get married, so they ended up setting up an arranged marriage for you, which, you're not the biggest fan of, but, you can deal with it. You can figure something out. And it's like, okay, let's meet our fiance, I guess. And then you go to his house. He talks to you for like 3 sentences, and then he takes you to his lab, which is in his basement. Already a lot of red flags, mind you. And like, he shows you this cool machine which can blow up oxygen. And you're like, wow, cool. What are you gonna do with that? And he's like, oh, I don't know, really. I just kind of wanted to make it because I thought I could make it, and it turns out I could. Cool, huh? And then you're like, okay. God. That is like the nightmare scenario for arranged marriages, I think. Like, I feel like you could do worse, but you could also do a lot better than Serizawa. Okay, we can put this over here. That's literally part of the plot of the original Godzilla. God. I will say that like the wrong approach to big monster movies is to try to focus on the humans. That never goes well. But I do think like the human parts of those monster movies are arguably some of the funniest ones. Like, imagine you get broken up with just before Godzilla attacks. Like you got broken up with really badly, and like now you're like, you know what? Next time I see Godzilla, I'm just gonna walk straight into the atom breath. I don't give a fuck anymore. God. It is also a really funny contrast with future depictions of Godzilla, where he does help out humanity regularly. It's like five years ago, you were trying to escape this thing's horrible, vengeful wrath for humanity for making it the only creature of its kind, and one that is fated to suffer eternally. And then, like 5 years later, it's like, yo, isn't that the same creature? Isn't that a creature we fated to suffer eternally? Why the fuck is it fighting a giant turtle? My favorite Godzilla movie is Three-Headed Monster from 1964. Building on Versus Mothra, it's the first one to establish a definite continuity, and it brought Rodan into the series. Cool. Hang on, I forgot which one Rodan is. Oh, this fucking thing. I love it. The big pterodactyl. You know what? I'm not gonna do anything too fancy for the in-between sticks of the balustrade. It's just gonna be straight lines. There we go. God, I do want to give a quick shout out to Biollante just because of the fact that it was the titular creature mentioned in a very recent Too Mellow EP, I believe. Like Too Mellow has a song about Biollante, and I was just like singing along to it and being like, damn, Biollante must be cool as fuck. A big part of that is the early Godzilla movies at their best at the box office with kids, so they pivoted to Godzilla being in a more heroic role to make kids the target audience. Generally, the conceit is that he's neutral towards humanity, but acts to defend the Earth he shares with them. Aw, that's nice of him. It's a good a reason to save any. It's a good a reason as any to save the Earth, I suppose, as well. Always gonna remember that one Guardians of the Galaxy bit where it's like, "Why do you care what happens to the galaxy? Because I'm one of the idiots that lives in it." I get the feeling that that's kind of the vibe with regards to Godzilla's heroic stints. Godzilla seeing humanity as like his bum-ass roommates who don't do the dishes frequently, but you know, they share a house, so he's got to step up from time to time. Actually, I might need to turn the background back on for just a second. Okay. There's literally a scene in the three-headed monster where Mothra beats up Goji and Radon and sits him down for a scolding about why they need to fight Ghidorah. God, I'm just imagining Mothra like chittering at them in like a moth language and then like whacking them on their head with her wings and then like pointing to like the three-headed King Ghidorah being like, "You see that shit? Can you lock in for 5 seconds?" God. It is very much peak whenever a threat is established that forces like two people who don't like each other to work together. Especially if like they still take time to fight in the middle of it all. Okay, and then expand this a little bit. Okay, then over here, and we are not done. I don't know. I do think it's important to work on comics just because, like, because of the control that it gives you. Because I think in comics, something that's very special about it is that both one person can do it, and it's also the fact that, like, even if that one person can't do it, they have to do every single part of it themselves. It is funny that people think that Mothra is weak outside of her pretty out-of-character depiction GMK. She's beaten Godzilla in every fight and every short clash they've had. This bug's got fucking hands. They're saying they scaled the base difficulty of Silksong off of a single encounter with Mothra that Team Cherry had during a spiritual hallucination trip. God. The Mothra double... The infamous, the legendary, the unconfirmed Mothra WL ratio. I do feel I need to see it. I need somebody to compile that data to me and have it ready on my desk by Thursday morning at the latest. Okay. I think that's about as much as we're gonna get done for today. This is a good experiment, though. I feel like even using a more simplified style, I understand now that a lot of the work that goes into, it's been like a year since I've made a proper comic page, but, it is helpful to remember every single time that number one, the most work goes into the actual backgrounds. No, number one, the most work goes into the actual layout of the page. Number two, the work goes into the backgrounds, and number one of the work is that it just goes into the characters. All right, is anybody streaming today? Do I want to raid into anybody? Oh, Zeta is doing Silk Song. I'm not going to stay for very long because I'm worried I'm going to get spoiled on Hollow Knight, but we can go raid them. We can go say hi to them. Alright. I'll be back on Thursday with some more art. I'm not sure what I'll be doing, but I'll figure something out by this point. In the meantime, take care. Thank you all very much for your company. I really appreciate it, and I will see you all later. Bye.